Welcome to Anatomy and Physiology. This is Chapter 5, the Integumentary System, video number 10. So in this video today, we're going to start talking about accessory skin structures. And the first one we're going to look at is hair. And if you look, we have a prefix that means hair, and that is pili. So if you see this in front of something, you can know that we are referring to hair. And again, as a review, this is on thin skin only. So our definition of thin skin was skin that can grow hair or has the potential to grow hair. It doesn't mean that it does. And the amount of hair somebody has on their body is usually due to genetics. So baldness, thin hair, all of those things usually tends to run through genetics. So the amount of body hair that somebody may have also is typically genetic. But everybody has hair on their thin skin at one point in development, and sometimes that goes away. So when we talk about the fetus, there is fetal hair, and we have two different terms that we use for this. The first one is called lanugo, and lanugo is delicate, unpigmented hair that covers fetal thin skin. So at one point, there are these really fine little wee hairs that cover your forehead, your whole face, your body. But over time through development, we end up losing that hair. And we have terminal hair, which is the hair that we see replacing this lanugo in certain areas. So near birth, terminal hair, which is terminal is the end, so the hairs that you see replaces lanugo usually on the scalp, eyelid for your eyelashes, and eyebrows. But we can still have some of this lanugo as like a really fine, we usually term it peach fuzz, on a baby. So sometimes babies are born with a full head of hair. Sometimes they are not, they just have a little bit of fuzz, but the hair then starts growing. So that would be the terminal hair that is the hair that we normally see. It may not be very pigmented yet. A baby can be born blonde, but over time the hair starts to darken. We also have a term called vellus hair. And vellus hair is what we call lanugo that does not turn into terminal hair. So this can replace lanugo elsewhere. And it is short, fine, unpigmented. So basically, lanugo after the baby's born is called vellus hair. And there is one disorder in which lanugo develops into terminal hair all over the body. And that's what we term a wolfman. So that is a genetic disorder. It is exceedingly rare, but there are people that would have hair over their entire body except for palms and soles of their feet. During puberty is the next time where we have hair changing in our body. So terminal hair replaces vellus hair in regions in response to hormonal changes. And all of you know about this because you are in the throes of puberty right now. So these areas are the genital region, the axillary region, which are your armpits, and in males, we have the face, chest, and I'll just write other because there are some people that develop really hairy legs, really hairy arms, hairy backs, hairy butts, all of that stuff. So anywhere where there is thin skin, we potentially could have hair. So with that, I do have a few videos that I will put about hair growth, maybe even a picture of lanugo in a fetus. So there are some pictures of inside the womb where you can see that fine unpigmented hair. So I will put those up on Schoology with that. So we are going to start looking at the anatomy of a hair. So if we move to the next page, we're going to look at two different planes. One is if we take a hair and we take a transverse or cross section of it, we are going to see different places here. So when we talk about the anatomy of a hair, we're also talking about the tissue that surrounds the hair, like down here in this sagittal section. But the cross section of it, we have a center part, a big part in the middle, and then an outside part. And this outside part is called the cuticle. And it is overlapping layers. So they're kind of like shingles of dead, keratinized cells. So a lot of keratin. And these are like shingles. The bulk of the hair is called the cortex. So this is the bulk. And in here we have cells that contain keratin and pigment. Excuse me. Also, the shape of this cortex is going to tell us a little bit about whether or not your hair is straight, wavy, or curly. So the shape of this, if it is perfectly round, you have straight hair. If the cortex is kind of oval in shape, so it's pushed down a little bit, you can have wavy hair. And if it's rather flattened, you have curly hair. And then the inside is called the medulla. This is soft keratin. So it hasn't hardened yet, so it hardens as it goes out. And we also have pigment here. Or if we have a lack of pigment, we can have air in there, and that will give us white hair. So if pigment is lacking in the hair, in both the medulla and the cortex, then we have white or gray hair. So it starts turning color. And these are the concentric layers that are found in a hair. Now, if we were to look at a hair in the skin, and we did that on the previous one, there is a little bit of terminology that we use to describe the hair itself in relation to the skin. So I'm going to just write that right up here at the top. And that is the shaft, the root, and the bulb of the hair. The shaft is the part that is not anchored to what is known as the hair follicle. And we'll define what a follicle is here in a second. It's basically the part that is above the dermis. So as it goes up through the epidermis, there's a little bit of space on either side of the hair, and where it's no longer anchored into the skin, that is the beginning of the shaft. And the shaft is all dead tissue. That's the reason why when we cut somebody's hair, it doesn't hurt. But if we pull it out, we are pulling on the root and the bulb, and that is attached to the skin, and that is going to hurt. The root is below the dermal layer, and the bulb is the base of the root. So most of the shaft and the root have this cross section. The bulb is going to be a little bit different because that is where we're going to have the mitotically active part of the cell. So what this diagram down here is showing is going to be the follicle, and that will be the topic of our next recording.